Hey, welcome everybody. Today we're going to put the launch lug, that's this little guy, on our rocket. So we're continuing on the fourth video, and what you're going to need for this one is the launch lug, the 3D printed jig that will attach the launch lug straight and straightforward like it should be. You may need a little bit of sandpaper, although that's kind of optional. Glue. You're going to need a pencil, but so you can see it better on the video, I'm going to be using the marker. And you're also going to need, of course, your rocket that you've already started on. And you're going to need a ruler. All right? Now, first of all, why the heck do we need a launch lug? Well, let's take a look here. Let me move some of these things out of the way just a little bit. So let's take a look at this. This is a model rocket that I've flown many times. And it is a 3D printed model rocket. You can see on this one, the launch lug is built in here, and I've angled it off to be more aerodynamic. But you can see it's actually attached to the 3D print itself, and it's a little tube. You can see it's hollow in the middle. Okay. Now, what are we going to do with that? Well, actually, when you go to launch model rockets off, and I'll show you in this video in a sec here, what you do is you slide the model rocket on this little tube. You see? So you can see the model rocket, once the launch lug is attached to that, it slides along here. Now, why do we need a launch lug on our model rocket? Why can't we just set it on the ground and just have it launch from the ground? Well, I'll tell you why. Rockets, if you've ever seen fireworks like the ground balloon fire that spin around while shooting out flames, and it uses a rocket boost to spin around the firework as it goes and tumbles along the ground, that's what happens to a rocket if you don't have proper fins on it. Fins help to stabilize. And you may have done this before where you're riding along and you stick your hand out the window of a moving car, and if the car's going fast enough, you'll feel the wind and it'll give resistance as you move your hand around. What you're feeling is when the car's going fast enough, and that's important, only when it's going fast enough, you'll feel the wind start to go over your hand, and that's what basically happens with these fins. But it only works when the rocket is going above, like, let's say, I can't remember, but about 25 miles an hour, 20 to 25 miles an hour. Before then, if the rocket's going slower than that, the fins don't work to stabilize the rocket, and it will tumble around and go crazy. It would be dangerous for people around you. So we've got to make sure that our rocket is going to move fast enough before we rely on the fins to stabilize it and keep it going straight as an arrow. Okay, so these fins are great, but they only work once the rocket goes fast enough. And the problem is the very first part of the launch, when the engine first starts ejecting gas out of it, the rocket is going to move and start going faster, but it's still not fast enough to keep the rocket stable until it goes off the edge of the launch rod. So the launch rod that we're going to glue on the side keeps it on the rod and keeps it stable until it's fast enough for the fins to kick in, and then it flies off. And the fins do their job perfectly. All right, so let's take a look at this real quick, and I want to show you a video that kind of helps us to understand that. Just real quick. This guy's Tim Van Milligan. He runs the Apogee Rocket Company. They make rocket kits of all types of stuff. And I'm going to pause and slow it down.
Make sure that there's no low-flying aircraft in the area. We don't want to scare the pilots. When everything is ready, you can go ahead and give a loud countdown and then push the button to launch the rocket. So we're going to do 5, 4, 3.
Okay, now I'm going to slow it down so we can really watch that the rocket doesn't, it looks like if it goes fast enough, let's watch it full speed. It looks like the rocket instantly goes fast, but that's not, if you slow it down, you can really see the rocket slowly accelerating, and it proves that the rocket doesn't go fast enough right when it takes off. We need a launch rod, and we need a launch lug to slide on. So let's watch it full speed.
3, 2, 1.
So it looks like it goes almost instantaneously, but let's watch it again at, if you go on YouTube, you can go to playback speed 0.25, which is quarter speed. So 4 seconds, it takes 4 seconds of this speed to watch 1 second. You see that? See how it kind of, when we watch in slow motion, you can see that it actually goes and builds up speed until it gets off the end of the launch rod, and then it just kind of is going fast enough. But watch again at slow motion.
2, 1.
Sounds funny. Slowly. And then it goes, and by the time it gets up on the end of the launch rod, we're good to go. Okay, so that's why we're going to need one. All right, I hope I've done a good enough job explaining that. So let's look at the instructions that came with our rocket. And if we look right down over here, I'm going to zoom in on that. Let's see, it's this, I think it's on the second page. At the bottom, they tell you it needs to be glued in, and we glue it on. The bottom of the launch lug sits at about 2 inches above the bottom of the rocket. And this is very, very important, okay? This part, you've got to understand this. Do not go any further until you've got a good grasp on this. Let me find that. Now remember, because our rocket has to slide on this rod again and again, let me switch that back over, and now we know it's 2 inches. But because our rocket has to slide on this rod, doesn't it make sense that this rod cannot be attached, this launch lug cannot be attached even with the fin? Otherwise, the rod wouldn't be able to go through there. So it has to be in between where the fins run, okay? So when we put this on, let's take a look here. We don't ever, now this is so important, we don't ever want to attach this launch lug at the same place where it would run in, where the rod would run into the fin. This is bad. We want to attach it over here where it's clear from these other fins. So, you know, something like this, where the rod could go through that straw or that launch lug and it wouldn't run into our fins, okay? Very, very important. Where exactly doesn't matter, but the rod cannot run into the fins. So let's go ahead and do that. And I'm going to measure, first of all, I'm going to grab my ruler and I look here and we start this part, 0 is right here, not the end of the ruler. For my ruler, 0 is right here. And we're going to put a mark at 2 inches, which is this long line right here. 2 inches, and then the ½ inches are a little shorter. So this is the full 2 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler, turn it like this, and put my ruler up. And be careful with your fins. Still, you got to be gentle with them. They're still not as strong as we're going to make them. So I'm going to move it over here, and at 2 inches, I'm going to put a little mark. Okay, that should be close enough. You can use a pencil, so yours will be even more accurate, but as long as it's about right there, we're good to go. And remember, we're not putting it over here where it's even with the fin. We're putting it in the middle, okay, right in the middle where it doesn't, where that's not a problem, okay? So here we go. Now here's where this optional step, so I'm planning to glue mine, it's going to go right here. Dry fitting, right? And we can, you know, you can try it out in this thing. We're going to put it on right here when we glue it on. Now, we're not going to use this plastic. The plastic thing's going to come out, but that's how it's going to go on eventually, right there. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sand, just lightly sand the tube, just a little bit. I don't want to tear it up. I'm barely putting any pressure. I'm letting the paper put the pressure down. A little spot on the tube, it can help it stick. And you know what? We might have wanted to do that for the fins also, but I forgot. So, but they should be fine. We're going to reinforce them later with some fillets. Okay, so this is going to go on here, and you can also sand the part of this that's going to touch. So I'm just going to put this sandpaper down for this because it's hard to do. And I'm just going to sand just a little bit off the bottom of this tube. Just a little bit. Okay, so that side is going to stay down. And there's the side that I sanded. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my glue bottle with my other hand. And I think that's the side I sanded, and I'm going to put a little bead of glue on there. Oh, that's right. I left my glue bottle open. Oh, no. Okay, it's still good, though. The other day, after I recorded my video, I found it, and it was open still. So I'm going to put a bead of glue, a line of glue that goes across here, the bottom here. Don't want too much, and I want one even line on there. This new camera I have, the resolution is better, but the lighting and focus is a little bit rough on it. Let's see if I can. There it is. Okay, it's not much better. But you can see I put a line of glue where it's going to hit. Now I got to have a little skill here. I'm going to take this, being careful not to put it on the part because the glue side needs to go down, right? Uh-oh, I got a little glue on my jig. So I'm going to take this thing and I'm going to kind of set it really close on here with the glue side down, and the glue should tack it down a little bit. And now what I'm going to do is it's all crooked. See how it's not going the same exact direction as the tube? It's on crooked. You can see there's a shift. It's heading off that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on top. Careful not to move it too much. And double check. And I'm going to move this so that it clamps that, and it really makes sure that this is on in the right place. We're not going to push down against our fins. So see, as that slides along, it straightens that thing out. And I'm going to just kind of press on it, press down until that glue gets a chance to start to tack up. And you can see, again, I'm being really careful that the rod is not going to run into the fins. You can see right here, the rod's going to come right through the middle, and that's good. We don't want the rod to run into the fins. Okay, so we got our deal. And then after a bit, after it has a chance to dry, and you can kind of, ooh, I moved it. Oh no, I didn't wait long enough. Has a chance to dry. We're going to carefully slide that off. And now we have that on there, and it should be fairly straight. Don't want to mess with it too much. I moved mine around, and I think I kind of got rid of some of the glue. Later, we're going to reinforce that. We're going to reinforce glue fillets for the fins and make them stronger. And we're also going to put a fillet in here for the launch lug. So there it is. Sliding that. Make sure this thing is all straight. Now I'm going to be very careful to leave this to dry. I don't want to set on my fins really. So I'll probably close my glue bottle up this time so it doesn't dry out on me again. And just kind of, I don't know, maybe put this pencil to weigh it down. There we go. I'll just leave it like this to dry. So that's straight up. It's not going to fall off to the side. And then we're just going to leave that alone for a bit to dry. Okay, cool. So now you know why we need one. And now you should be able to put on your launch lug. Oh, and also check to make sure that you don't have any lumps of glue that might block the rod that might have gone on there so that before they dry up. And if you did, you could just take something small like, you know, the end of a pencil and just kind of clear it out so it doesn't block it later. And again, this isn't a whole lot of glue. I know that. We are going to reinforce what's called fillets, which rounds it off. It makes it more aerodynamic, and it will significantly strengthen the fins and also the launch lug. Okay? So that's actually what we're going to be doing, I think, in our next video. We're going to be adding fin fillets and launch lug fillets, but I have to let this dry. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks.